Live. Yes,
There,
we're
I see
live
the red
now.
button. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to What the Hell Happened This Week. We are coming to you after a little bit of a spring break, but we're back and we're coming back with a vengeance today.
Yes. Come on in, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm Dustin,
I'm Danielle.
and we have a special guest today. We have Lindsay Rubia Garcia, who is a lawyer and an activist and is running for Congress in Louisiana's 5th District.
Let's
Very excited to
go.
have you on, Rubia.
I am excited to be here. Thanks, y'all.
We have so much to talk about, and just to quickly fill people in, we have a primary coming up on May 16th, and this is for Louisiana's 5th congressional district. The current occupant is Julia Letlow, who is running for Senate, so she's vacating the seat. So it's open. It's an open seat, and there's five total Democrats running in this primary. Rubia got the endorsement from the Louisiana State Party Executive Committee and the statewide DESCC Central Committee. So congratulations on that endorsement, Rubia.
Appreciate you. It was
It's well
a pleasant
earned.
surprise, but it was well received. I will say that.
And y'all, a lot of you may recognize Rubia because she's gone viral just in the past couple days for her amazing and bold showing at the legislature supporting Calvin Duncan, which we're going to get into later. So it's exciting. And Rubia, I'd love to just start this off by hearing from you a little bit more about your background and what the path that brought you here. And of course, I want to get into some talking about your children and where you're from and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I've followed you for a long time, and whenever I heard that you were running for Congress, I was like, hell yeah, okay, all right, I like it. So, and everything I've learned about you since, I like. So, yeah, inform the audience, what led you to do this.
Well, going viral from yesterday's speech, I guess, isn't something that's brand new. Over the last that's how many people found out about me, was when I was still teaching and I was still in the classroom and I was speaking. I went viral back, I can't even tell you, it was 2015, I believe it was, before Trump became president the first time. Um, and after I had gone viral on accident, I didn't even know what going viral was at that point in time, but I was speaking about interactions that I was having with my students at the time and what I was learning from my students. And when we have more time, I could go into even how that all happened. But I stayed because there were people who looked like me, who thought like me, but then they didn't necessarily know how to articulate it. But then there were those who looked like me, who didn't think like me, and they needed to be addressed. So I wasn't done. And I was like, okay, well, since I'm here. But the biggest thing was I had to decide after I went viral unintentionally whether or not I was going to stick around. And as a teacher, which is my background, I recognized very early on that it was just another classroom. It was just another tool that could be utilized. And it was a tool for teaching. It was a tool for organizing. It was a tool for putting people together and things like that. So then I just kept on doing it. And my background is, to go back to the whole shebang. I'm originally from New Orleans, born and raised from New Orleans, the baby of 10. I have 8 older brothers and an older sister. So I joke and I'm like, I'm the grace of my mother when I choose to be. Like, I clean up really well. I got her eyes and everything. But my father was a criminal defense attorney. And I mentioned that in the video that I did behind Calvin Duncan, because there was a connection behind myself and Calvin Duncan, because my dad did cases back in the 90s for wrongfully convicted men, but also in his criminal defense work had filed cases on behalf of other inmates who he had never met before, but because he saw there was something unconstitutional in Louisiana, he decided to not just file for his client, he filed for everybody. So all of the inmates had brought it to Calvin and were like, oh man, you filed my paperwork because I'm going back to court. And Calvin's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, who's this white man named Sonny Armand in New Orleans? And they're like, he filed on my behalf. So it wasn't until Calvin.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it wasn't until I sat down in that interview with Calvin during his race. I was working on a book on Hayes Williams, which is the case that my dad had worked, and Hayes had gotten out of Angola and then came to live with us when I was like 12 years old. So I was working on kind of filling in the gaps of Hayes's story, and I knew that Calvin was out. I read his book, and I wanted to sit down with him. Plus, he was running, and it wasn't until we sat down on that couch and he was like, I know Sonny Armand. Sonny Armand's a big OG. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, sir, because I was a child. I have no idea. So he kind of educated me on that in that conversation. So it's a what happened and what went on with Calvin was kind of like personal. But
Mm,
myself, I was a former, my ex-husband was in the military. I have 2 children and I got into teaching and then I started teaching and then I brought you up to speed. I went viral. I kept on going. I already had a very large platform before the Hard Rock in New Orleans fell in 2019. And I tried to leverage my platform to raise awareness to the men who were killed and the men who were still trapped inside of the building. Got into some good trouble, caught some charges behind it, and then George Floyd got murdered just shortly thereafter. So I took that. It was during COVID. My kids were living with their dad at the time because it was safer out in North Carolina than in New Orleans during COVID. And at that point, I just got on the road and I traveled for all the protests and whatnot. I ended up getting hurt on the front lines. And then it was like, all right, well, I had a lawyer's number written on my arm. And I was like, you might need to change it up because you're 35 years old. And maybe, kettling and hopping fences and things like that. These aren't the same knees and back from the 99 and the 2000. You know what I mean? So you might need to reassess. So I came back to Louisiana after that entire spending a year on the road, eventually traveled 30,000 miles around the US in 2020 and 2021.
Oh.
Just graduated from law school at Southern, and it was either take the bar or run for Congress. And considering this administration has made repeated attacks against the American Bar Association and against HBCUs like the Southern University, where I just graduated from, I just decided in my mind at this point that if it's going to happen and somebody like me was going to win, because I don't believe that I'm a perfect person. I know that I have said and done things that push the envelope and whatnot, but also this administration has set a completely different tone of being unserious. So if that's the case, I'm very serious about it. And I think I made that. I hope that that tone was received on yesterday.
mhm.
Because that's the energy that I wanted to deliver on yesterday was that I'm sick of it. And I hope that that message, at least that energy was at least relayed because I'm actually a little bit frustrated that I'm even here at this point because there are more qualified people. There are more, people that are in this political realm. And I've never run for office and things like that before. So to be running for Congress in my first way out it's been a learning experience, baptism by fire type thing that goes on. But I'm so dead serious about flipping seats and I am so dead serious about standing up to this administration and actually getting the systemic change that I drove 30,000 miles around the country in order to get that we never got from even Biden's
I
administration.
Well, you're definitely qualified, and that's the
I
people's house.
yes. And that's what I wanted to say, like, it's not just your background, your passion is what makes you extremely more qualified than anyone else that's been in politics for a while.
Mm,
Like, I really think that that's gonna be part of the revolution. They're leaders exactly like you, strong, clear voice, background, passion, and not afraid to stand up to these goons. So, don't ever
yeah.
say that again in my presence, at least. You are overqualified in my opinion.
One of the final things was like, first of all, it got me through law school because I attempted to go to law school in 2018 and it didn't work out. I couldn't pass the LSAT. I'm a terrible test taker in my mind. Have terrible test anxiety. I hadn't been in school and I don't know how long at that point in time. Um, but I was like, I know a couple of lawyers, and I know if they can do it, I can do it. And more importantly, I see some people currently serving in Congress right now, and if they can do it,
Exactly.
And
i- if
Exactly.
six
I think
B,
I think I think this is like a collective, like, awakening of, like, why are we letting these idiotic, like, I don't idiotic
sycophants. I
assholes,
mean, there's
sycophants,
so
like,
many words.
ruining yes.
You
It's
don't
like,
get
oh
mad
my
at
god.
your
And, like, we're letting them, so it's like, yeah, we need people like you and Dustin too to be like, "Oh, well, I'm not like your traditional kind of, candidate." Exactly, that's why we need y'all. That's why we need y'all.
Well, I'm glad you're saying that because I do feel, and in my experience, and I hope we get to talk about it, that's where that hesitancy comes from. Because as somebody who wasn't a member of the party, I expected the backlash, or I expected the questions of why should we trust you? You just joined the party, or the pushback at the DSCC. I'm not your traditional Orthodox candidate, but you don't get mad at the clown. You get mad at yourself for bringing yourself to the circus. And I said it yesterday in my speech. I said it specifically. The fact that I am here means that you've ignored all the other voices of logic and reason, and now I'm the problem that you're going to have to deal
Yeah,
with
I
at
I
this
l
The
I
point.
way
loved that
I'm the
part when
problem.
he said that. Yeah.
when you looked at the camera, I was like, "Oh shit." When you looked at that
Ooh,
camera and then
she means business.
you're like, "This is a promise and not a threat."
Not a threat.
Going after all of y'all seats. And didn't they cut some of them come up to you afterwards and like,
They did. They tried to shake my hand, and I had my comms team
"You're
standing
scared
beside
of
me
you."
when they did it. They tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and they had their hand out, and then I looked down, and then I looked
Ooh.
back up, and then I looked back down, and then I went to shake their hand, and they asked me, "What seat am I running for?" I said, "Do you think I'm playing? Did you think that was for show?" I said, "You're gonna find out."
Oh my god. I love you gave them the Miranda Priestley, uh, look up and down. I am obsessed. Yes.
Because I think that they think that I was playing. I
No.
think that they think it was for. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, that's the energy that everyone needs to be having
Yeah,
running
and
against
that's
these.
exactly. Yeah, well, and that's what I was gonna piggyback off of. You mentioned the state party and you're worried how you would be accepted. We accepted you with open arms because,
Overwhelmingly,
and
it shocked me.
we're just like, we're a party that, like, we've just, all of us, like, that are involved with the party. Like, I ran a number of years ago, a couple times, and we're just doing whatever we can. We're trying to bring as many people as we can, and we need people like you that can somehow break through and get attention and get the word out. And that's why it was no surprise to me that you were accepted, even though you were no party. For a while, and you gave a great excuse when you were asked that in the DSCC meeting, a state committee meeting, and your response to that was amazing. You mentioned George Washington, how I think that whenever he was stepping down or something, said the party will be the part having political parties will be the end of America, and you just gave a great response to that.
The irony is, some of my earlier videos, one of my most successful videos during Donald Trump's first term was like, "I'm going to tell you folks a story, and it's a true story." And then I was talking about Hitler the entire time. And then I asked at the end, "Do you think I was talking about Hitler?" No, I was actually talking about the rise in power. Like, I was talking, I'm talking, and it was because all of the signs were there. But in the middle of that video, I digressed for a second because I'm a historian. That's my background, my bachelor's degree in history. I taught history for 10 years. And folks now, I love Hamilton. All of me and my children love Hamilton.
It's amazing.
And you get to that part where Alexander Hamilton is pinning all of that. But at the time, it puts things into historical context because now you can visually see the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists. And in his 32-page farewell address, Washington gives very specific warnings. One, against neutrality, which is in the song, the neutrality of getting involved in foreign nations during peacetime. He offers, it's on Spotify, folks can listen to it. Bring a thesaurus like I did with you because Alexander Hamilton wrote that and it was absolutely glorious. But
Mhm.
he warned against, he said that political factions would make the country so corrupt and so dysfunctional that it would open the door for a demagogue to rise to power and for foreign governments to influence in our democracy. That is prophetic, is exactly what I said in the video. And I was like, do I think we're becoming that radical? No. But we are writing history currently right now. And since then, it has only increased. I kept on talking. Seemed like and I said it at the state party meeting, seemed like the Republicans were the only ones who were listening because then you have the Theo Vaughns and the Joe Rogans and all these different podcast bros that are stepping into this tech space. And it seems like the Democratic Party didn't really get into it, didn't really lean into it until Harris ran, to be completely honest. Or they ran on the coattails in 2020 of folks like ourselves and the chaos that was 2020 and 2021 of the protests of George Floyd and on the momentum of that. But we still haven't gotten those systemic changes that came as a result of that, which is kind of where the frustration lies. And it's like, I can't. Now, since George Floyd, you have influencers doing what I've been doing for 10 years. You have influencers saying things about all these different correlations between Hitler and fascism and things that I've been saying for 10 years. And it is increasingly frustrating to sit here and watch these people do the things that ultimately Teacher Life was partly teaching the internet that you could teach on the internet, right? So everybody, like, now we're listening, but at the end of the day, we're still behind the curve. And now everybody's talking and nobody's doing. So it was like, I can no longer in good conscience just sit back and commentate on it. And I've had conversations with other influencers that have a larger following than me and was like, we should all run at the same time in this midterm. I had that conversation last summer, particularly when I was in DC. We should all run on the same ticket. We might not all make it, but collectively, that's the type of enlightening and type of movement and engaging movement. Imagine the Harry Sissons and the Jolly Good Gingers and the Good Troubles and the things like that, particularly the white creators who are out here who are either making money or getting a large following, telling America that telling the world that America is coming to an end and fascism's on the rise. But if it is, then lean in, beloved. It should be all hands on deck. Your platform is another example of a privilege. And if all you're going to do is post videos saying that the world is going to end and then put up your referral link in the corner, eventually that becomes like a problem, because then it's just like, do you actually mean the stuff that you're saying, or are you just saying it just to say it type energy? So I am not that person. I don't want to be perceived as that person. I genuinely believe that we are at a crossroads in the United States where we can go either way. That's ultimately why I was like, I'm going to run. And I'm going to let the cards fall where they may. And hopefully it does inspire people. Hopefully they do pick up on the energy. Hopefully the party does recognize that this is a significant base within the party and they are tired of the strongly worded letter having energy.
Yes.
Like they're done with it.
Yeah, so me and Rubia got to hang out last week. So the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, came to New Orleans for the first time in like decades. So they had all the Democratic parties from all over the nation were in town because they had the state parties meetings at the same time. They also had the Young Democrats of America meetings going on. So it was kind of central. And there's a few stories that we have of
there's some tea.
Rubia.
Let me get
As soon as
situated.
I got there, Katie Darling, our first vice chair of the state party, was like, Rubia just met Ken Martin. For those of you who don't know, Ken Martin is the chair of the whole National Democratic Party. He got elected just a year ago. And so y'all got introduced, and I think he asked you, like, what are you running for or something? And you said a response to him, and he gave like a negative response back, and y'all kind of argued a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that conversation?
It was the first night, and I was like, Lord, here we go.
Meeting the head of the Democrat Party.
It's night one, and I'm already feeling like it's already feeling like I'm going toe to toe.
I think that's why people are really going to get behind you and support you and be a big fan of yours because of your integrity. You are who you are. If you have a problem with someone, like, you're going to say it to their face. That's what we need.
That's what we want.
So this is what generally happened, and I think it speaks to an overall issue within the Democratic Party. And I'm grateful at this point to kind of elaborate publicly on what it was that kind of happened. And Ken, if you see this now, you know exactly what I meant, and now you can like feel the energy of where it is that I'm coming from, and I'm not alone in feeling all of this because the party overwhelmingly endorsed. More importantly, you go to any of these folks that are like, look at what's happening with Hassan Parker, right?
Picker. Yeah.
No, Hassan Piker. I don't know why I was just tripping up right now, but You see what's going on and the purity politics on the left and this draw to try to pull people back in the center. And I'm not of that mind, right? Because the right has gone further right. And it's like the left has tried to remain center and try to bring us back to a sense of normalcy that does not exist anymore. That sense of normalcy died on the front capitol of the United States Congress whenever they built a gallows on the front lawn and then shimmied up drain pipes to go hang their own vice president.
Exactly.
That died right then and there.
Thank you.
That died right then and there. So what happened was I get to the kickoff party on Tuesday night. Katie Darling introduces me, and I felt bad because she was going like this.
I love Katie.
As we were like going back and forth, and afterwards, I'm like, I'm sorry, sis. My bad. I wasn't expecting that to be honest.
Just like her smiling, kind of running.
Yeah, she was really just like, oh.
Oh, shit. I didn't.
Yeah, like what just happened just now? Poor sis. Anyways, and that was like my first interaction meeting her too. We had literally she's like, I'm so excited you're running, whatever. We're talking, and then Ken Markham walks in, and she's like, I want to work on a surrogate program. By the way, this is Rubia Garcia. She's an advocate out here, teacher, now lawyer, and she's running in CD5. And he's like, oh, goes to shake my hand. And then he's like, all right, give me your pitch. And I'm kind of like, I'm caught off guard because we're literally at the entrance where like literally hundreds of people are filing into the building, right? And he's standing there and he's asking me for my pitch. And I'm confused because one, I'm not going to be able to give you a 30-second pitch and be able to cover everything. My passions are too broad and I have entirely too much that I would want to say to him at that point in time. So
it's old school to say for people to say like, give me your elevator pitch, you know.
Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And
it's that you don't know who it is that I am. You obviously clearly do not follow me. You do not know anything about me. You do not know anything about my background, anything like that. And I was like, are we talking about platform, policy, like how we're going to get this accomplished? And he's like, just give me your pitch. And I was like, well, in that case, if it's not impeach, convict, remove, imprison, and then repeat, I don't know what we're doing here. And his response was, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but his response was like, yeah, that's not going to do anything. You're not going to win on that. That was the response that I got. And I was like, yeah, well, I think that's why you lost in 2024, right? And we are still sitting here at this point. I didn't get a chance to say any of this, but I think it's indicative of where the Democratic Party is at right now. The reality of it is, he didn't realize you're talking to somebody who drove. What he did say was, let's just wait until November. Let's worry about getting there and winning in November and flipping the House and flipping the Senate. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to change it. Like, that's not going to fix the problem because you're talking. Again, I didn't have the chance because he kept trying to walk off as I'm still standing there. And I'm like, you want me to go to District 5. If you think I'm about to go to District 5 and tell them that I'm going to increase the livable wage, that I'm going to fight for healthcare, that I'm going to do education, that I'm going to work on infrastructure and broadband, that I'm going to fight for veterans, I'm going to fight for teachers, I'm going to fight for students, I'm going to fight for social and environmental justice. All of us are pretty much aligned when it comes down to policy. I'm less concerned with policy, and that's why kind of like my response was, how do we get this accomplished? What is the how? Because your response to me is, well, let's just win in November. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like get Biden in office in November and then we're going to get everything handled. Except we did all that. I drove 30,000 miles. I caught 2 felonies. I got fractured ribs and chemical burns on my throat from all of the tear gas and pepper fog and all the things that I experienced across the country on that same energy. Get him there. And then we got him there. And even though he had control of Congress, we still didn't get the George Floyd Police Reform Act. We still didn't get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which would have prevented a lot of the gerrymandering tactics that we are dealing with right now. So it's no longer as a 40-year-old single mother of 2. And he was like, the people that I'm talking to, and I travel across the country and I talk to people and I'm like, sir, I have one of my platforms, just one of my pages on Facebook, of which I have 2. One of my pages on Facebook reached more people than people that voted in 2024. So I'm talking to people too, and they're not trying to have that. And he said, well, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but we've been flipping these seats. He mentioned it at the general session. We won out here in Louisiana. We won out there in Palm Beach. We won out here and we're flipping seats and the Republicans haven't flipped none. Yes, I was there. I'm watching and paying attention, but I think you're confusing desperation with success, beloved, because people would rather crawl over broken glass than to sit here and vote for this administration when even the Republicans that I'm talking to are pissed and they don't want perfect candidates. They don't want people who are going to sell them pipe dreams. They want the policy, but they also want to know how you're going to do it. And that was why I fail to understand. If that's the case, then tell me why the DNC is not making as much money despite the successes in November. I think it was the Wall Street Journal did show it had a big old graph. It's on Instagram, and I looked at it. Despite the successes in November, the DNC still isn't making any money. Despite the successes you had in November, you're still polling lower than
Yeah.
Trump. Explain that. If not, but for there is something else that is not happening, and you're confusing success with desperation. And my response to him was, how do you plan on it? You want me to give you a 30-second pitch on my policy on how I'm going to win this district. And the way I'm going to win this district is to stand 10 toes down on what I have always done, which is fighting for the people. For progress, for people, for Louisiana is literally my entire campaign slogan, because I'm not going to sit here and sell the people of District 5 or anywhere else or any constituent. I'm not going to sit here and tell you something if I can't deliver on it. I know what I want to do, but at the end of the day, even the Republicans are mad at this administration. They are mad about filling up their tractor for $5 in diesel. They are mad about spending $100 every time they fill up their F-150. The farmers are mad, not just because of the USAID and the Doge cuts and all of that. They're mad because of the fertilizer. And they're mad not just because of the no wars, which you got us in, but they're mad that the Strait of Hormuz is closed and now their gas is now expensive as it is. Their fertilizer is as it is. They are upset and they clearly don't want perfect candidates. They clearly don't want polished candidates. If they did, they wouldn't be voting for Trump and the party that they are. So I'm not going to win by selling pitches of policy that I'm not going to be able to perform on. And that is where it all lies, because what is going to happen, and I did tell him this, what is going to happen is you want just to get to November. All right, we get to November, everybody gets sworn in. Even if I get there in January, what's going to end up happening is we'll have control of the agenda. Yeah, sure. We'll have control of committees. Yeah, sure. The problem is you're talking to me as a candidate, as if I'm not also a constituent, as if I'm not a single mother, as if last year I'm not a broke college student, as if I am still too poor in order to afford healthcare right now, as if I'm not a constituent, and therein lies the disconnect and the problem. Because you're only talking about policy and you're trying to sell me pipe dreams that even I don't believe, and if you expect me to go to my jurisdiction and my district and try to sell them pipe dreams, it's not going to happen. Because I'm not just concerned about the policy, but how to accomplish it. Because we're going to get control of the agenda, and those of us who have watched Schoolhouse Rock and know how a bill becomes a law, then it's got to go through both houses and then go to the president's desk. He's going to veto it. And without veto-proof majority, we're locked. We're going to have committees. We're going to issue subpoenas. Then those people don't show up. And then when they don't show up, who's supposed to prosecute them? Todd Blanche? It's not going to happen. So what that sounds like, and I told him that, it sounds like controlled chaos to me. And it bothered him. That interaction bothered him so much that he went on throughout the rest of the week and brought me up without bringing me up. He brought me up without bringing me up. And I'm like, next time, sir, say my name. Because if I'm talking about you, I'm going to at you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because, we had the Step Up Louisiana event. We were there, and I remember
the next
Ken
night.
Martin. Yeah, the next night. And I was standing by Jamie Davis, who's running for U.S. Senate. Vote Jamie Davis. He's a endorsed candidate. But Ken got the mic, and I saw Ken grab the mic, and directly across from it, I saw you, Rubia.
Yeah, that's perfect view.
Yes, I saw Rubia, and Rubia was just standing there like this, just watching him. And then, he was kind of backtracking a little bit in what he was saying. He was kind of acknowledged y'all's conversation, but also afraid to go there too.
He didn't go there while I was standing there, but he went there in other committees and other caucuses. He had that conversation then. And
Mm.
he said specifically that there was some candidate that's running out here and she's running on an impeach convict, which was not all that I'm running on
Yeah,
by any
yeah,
stretch of the imagination. That's not it, but that wasn't the same energy that he had on Wednesday. And what he had on Wednesday was we're not just going to go in there and go in on removing Trump and all that. And that's why you got the 2 or 3 claps that you got, sir, because you're in New Orleans. You're in my city, number 1. You're in New Orleans, number 2 of all places. And you don't think that these policies are negatively affecting this community. And you're going to go there and try to sell the pipe dreams to them of all people. That's not going to swing. And then only for him to step off and then for them to acknowledge me, which I was completely unawares of and not expecting. I wasn't expecting, the step up to acknowledge me being there. And I'm just like, I'm just humbled that she mentioned my name. And it was right after he got off. And it's like, sir, this is a very tight knit community. You came down to Louisiana, you came into New Orleans to host this event, and you're talking to people who are overwhelmingly being negative affected, just like everywhere else in the country. And you're selling them pipe dreams on what happens. All you want to do is win control. I'm not talking about control. I'm talking about 6-7, like the kids are talking about. I'm talking about the 67 it takes in order to convict and then remove them, because otherwise, how are you planning on increase? If you can tell me, if y'all want to tell me, you've been in politics longer than me. I've only studied it academically. If one of you can explain to me how we are going to pass legislation with Trump being president without a veto-proof majority,
yeah,
explain it to me.
yeah. I
Explain it to me
mean,
like I'm a 5th grader.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, yeah, we're gonna have some huge. I mean, Trump. I mean, we're gonna have to drag his ass out of there. He's not leaving unless we do. We're gonna have to go far uh, to be able to get him out of there. But I wanted to. So Ken Martin
What
will definitely remember Louisiana and remember you.
Can
But
I
there's
just
Which was
wanna
somebody
my
say one
point.
else.
I wanna
That
say one thing on that topic. I think that's, to your point, Ruby, and that's the point you're trying to make, is the more that the Democratic Party continues to lean in and double down on the old guard way of doing things, the more that they're going to get rejected. Because the people who know the fact about what you just said about Trump, of like, you literally have to convict him. He needs to go to jail. Like, he needs to go down in ruins and Dustin dragged out of there. The people who wanna vote for Democrats know that. And so when you hear this same old, like, advice on how to win elections by, like you said, trying to meet in the middle and get pulled to the center and, "Oh, we gotta, run on policies." It's like, "No, we that's not gonna work anymore." Like you said, it's a whole new ballgame, so we need fresh voices and fresh ideas to actually move the needle forward.
No, I 100% agree. And I've talked to Republicans in my district. And like I said, they are pissed. And it's not, we will not agree on anything. Like, we might not agree on, the women's reproductive justice. We might not agree on a ton of different things. But I'm not asking for them to agree with me on anything. I am asking for their vote because, do you believe that I will fight for you and your better interest? Myself, my empathy doesn't afford me to pick and choose upon partisanship. I will do what I feel is in your better interest. And when an administration is playing on whether you're ignorant or they are playing and banking on the disinformation and the misinformation, a lot of them have come around to the fact that he ran on something America first, and you've even lost at this point, you've lost bleach blonde, bad built, butch body herself, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You lost it. So they're mad about Iran. They are mad about America First. They are mad about the Department of War, not GOD. They are mad that the gas is what it is. They are mad that the food is high, the gas is high, the rent is high, the health care is gone. They are mad about these things, and they want somebody who is going to fight for them. And if at the end of the day, if I have proven nothing else, I said it yesterday in the thing, it's a promise and not a threat. And anybody who has followed me or does any amount of research, they know a couple of things about me. And promises mean something to me. So if I give you my word, which I did in 2018 when I tried law school for the first time, I fulfilled that promise. I said in 2018, if I felt like the people called upon me and the times required it, yeah, I would run for office. I would much rather be writing my books, but I can't do that because they're already banned. The books that I want to write about, you're banning these books. So these are my dreams that I'm talking about that I can no longer fulfill. I have my children who are growing up and their dreams are being stifled. And that's the ones that I gave birth to that sat in my womb for 9 months. But what about the ones who lived in my classroom for 9 months as well? And that is, I'm not, I think everybody overwhelmingly Republican, Democrat, me being no party going either way. I believe that the vast majority of us are in the same boat. We are on the same
Yeah.
struggle bus in this survival mode. And they don't just want people who are talking a good game about policy. They want to see the actual action of it. And the solution in my mind is not to sit here. I am centrist. I am no party. I am like the vast majority of America who sits in that independent realm and is sick and tired of both of it. But the party, the Democratic Party, was more aligned, in my opinion, in the historical track record. These are the things that I can stand on, and I can't commentate or criticize on the outside unless I'm going to actually put some skin in the game and put it out here and do something to try to change it. But it is very indicative of the National Party that when you have a voice that's out there, when you have somebody who is the voice of the people, who has a dedicated track record of fighting for the people, that you're going to sit there without any background, without anything. One, you're going to base it off of a 30-second pitch. And then when you are met with the same type of energy that you are being met with APAC, with dark money, with the stances and not going hard enough, and you're still on this. If you're going to show up at the State of the Union, you need to sit down and be quiet, baby. That's not the energy that the base is asking for. They're asking, what the hell are y'all doing? And instead, you are meeting the moment with, once again, trying to get into the middle. And that's what I drove 30,000 miles for, just to get back into the seats of power. And then we gave you that. And then what did you do with it is the point. I don't care about symbolic changes anymore. I don't care about you putting up bills that it makes no sense to put you in power, that you're going to pass bills that are going to die on the president's desk. I'm less concerned about the I want to see the systemic changes and how you're going to accomplish those, not the symbolic changes. I don't need any more name changes for streets. I don't need any more African garbs and taking a knee and doing all these things. No, we need the systemic changes. And if somebody else, like, he could sit down and explain to me how you plan on getting that accomplished without addressing the orange elephant in the room, I, I I'm still just I'm at a loss with the party on the direction of where you're going. And when you're canceling or shunning voices like Hassan Piker, it's no wonder you're going to have a repeat and you're going to be confusing. And I told him, I said, it sounds like controlled chaos to me. It sounds like you're running on this. Oh yeah, the policies are horrible, except you're going to get there and you're not going to be able to accomplish the things that you're talking about. You're not going to be able to get the policies down, but it's cool because you've got power again.
Yeah, there's one other thing at the DNC that another story that I wanted to tell while we still have a little bit of time. When we were in that panel meeting with Tim Miller from the Bulwark, which I'm a fan of Tim Miller, but he threw some shade at the Louisiana table. It was me, you, and Katie Darling and some others. And it was a panel with Tim Miller and Simon Rosenberg. And at the end of the panel, it was Tim Miller said, like, hey, we're starting a pact because I think a lot of seats are going to flip Democrat this year across the United States. So if you have, and he's talking to like all the state parties. And he said, if you have anybody that needs that extra push for doing a PAC, email this certain person at the Bulwark. And then we were all like writing down that email, and he looked at our table and he like joked at us. It was threw some shade and said, like, don't be sending me that farmer that's running for Senate, though. I see Louisiana over there writing it down. I was like, damn, that was kind of messed up because he's sitting
That
in
is messed
Louisiana when he said
up.
that, like he lives in New Orleans, and
Yeah.
he's somebody that was a
That is that is
Republican.
that
He was a
that
longtime Republican. Um,
uh-huh.
and, I like him now. He's fighting the fight. He's got a huge podcast, the Bulwark podcast, and but he's a Louisiana resident, and he was throwing shade like that. And Rubia, I didn't realize this until afterwards. I talked to you. You waited for him at the door, right, when he was leaving?
Oh, she said, "Hold up, we gotta talk."
Because I saw your hand up at first, but
Like-
they were running out of time.
Because I sure was going to ask him in front of everybody to elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was really
I'll let them
confused.
elaborate on that because that sounds like, oh, your candidate. It sounds like a diss. It's just a straight up diss.
That's
And
what
we're
it was received
Louisiana,
as.
like we're Louisiana struggling with with MAGA and Trump probably more than any other state. We have the highest poverty, highest child poverty, maternal mortality. I mean, we have we're the worst at everything right now. And we have the second highest black population in the United States, and we have New Orleans. We have a lot of things that people would invest or believe in us that we can change things here and get elected over here. And just to throw a diss like that, I'm glad you called him out on it.
It was necessary. It was unnecessary is what it was. And I caught it. And then I went to go raise my hand because I don't throw shade. I shed light on stupidity. That's what I used to tell my kids in the classroom, baby. I don't throw shade. I shed light on the stupidity of it all. And I went to go raise my hand and I was like, there's other people who got their hand up. It's all right. I'll pull up because my kids know me. I'm the pull up queen. I will pull up just like I did at Hammond on Wednesday when the ICE raids or whatever, or on yesterday in the state capitol. I am the pull up queen. You go ahead and give me a call. I will pull up if I need to get some I need some clarification. But going back, because I had an interaction with Tim Miller, I didn't realize he even lived in Louisiana, crazy enough. And I do follow Tim Miller and I do follow the Bulwark. And there are things that I ultimately did agree with, which is why I was following them. So for him to even jokingly kind of, and I really wanted clarification as to who it was that he was talking about to make sure that, are we talking about Conrad or are we talking about Jamie? Who it is that, either one, it was unnecessary. So either one, for you to joke and to quip that made me feel some type of way because these are the endorsed people that the Louisiana State Party is. You're not from here, sir. You are what Louisiana would call a transplant. Therefore, you're coming in and you are living off the good graces. You want all the rhythm of Louisiana, but you don't want all of the blues that come along with it. And people like around myself, we don't take kindly to stuff like that, which is why I met him at the door and I asked him, I was like, clarity. And he was like, nah, I like him. And I'm like, well, I was like, I don't know if you remember me, but in December when Chief Bovino and ICE and all them were doing their raids out in New Orleans, I was a member of the caravan. I was the one following Bovino around and going around and warning the neighborhood and watching him go into the gas stations to get energy drinks and Slim Jims. And you showed up at the protest at the end of the day and then stood there, took pictures for 15, 20 minutes, and then you dipped, only for me to watch you on a podcast later on that night because you had a conversation with me and I explained to you what all they did. They had camera crews, they rode around, they were escorted. It was a PR incident, only for me to hear you literally say, as if you were a part of the caravan, you were saying what it was that you had witnessed or heard or whatever the case may be, but you weren't actually a part of it. You showed up at the protest. So it's like you want the rhythm, but not the blues that comes along with it. And then to be sitting there in the audience, and then you're sitting here because you're living in Louisiana, but don't even bother sitting here. Because if you're talking about Jamie, beloved, you're talking about not only the endorsed candidate, but you're talking about a black farmer who literally has, if not the most, one of the most largest farms over several 10, 30 something thousand square miles of farmland, et cetera, et cetera. One of the large, and it's been in his family for generations. And he's the endorsed candidate. He is this person, and you're like, oh, it's nothing personal against him. Well, I don't even need to ask you about me then. He's like, well, I don't even know anything about you. Why are you even on the panel then? What are you even doing? And why are you even throwing shade? More importantly, sir, I have a bigger following than you. I'm going to need you to stop. That right there kind of pushed me over the edge. I have a larger following than you on Instagram alone, not even counting any of my other platforms, but you're coming into my state. You're throwing shade on people that are endorsed candidates here. I say well, should I even? I guess I shouldn't even because you apparently don't. It seems like you don't think the candidates here are qualified enough or the endorsed candidates. And I asked him the same thing I brought up to Ken. I completely forgot about that until right now. I'm like, how do you plan on getting the policies through? If you're going to sit here and choose the same mold and go to the center and do stuff like this, I'm confused as to how you're even going to get this legislation passed. Only for last week, for me to see the Bulwark put up an article that was saying, again, why the Democrats should shun Hassan Piker. And then you go in the comments and the Bulwark is getting read for filth in their own comment section because, like, yeah, this is out of touch. Yeah, we didn't ask for this. Yeah, you're not reading the room because the Democratic base and Republicans and no party independents are tired of you trying to play chess with pigeons who are knocking over the pieces, shitting on the board, and then strutting around like they won every single time. Like, what are you doing out here?
God.
So that's kind of where my energy was. And I should say, if Tim ever sees this, check your DMs, beloved, because I also asked to have this conversation with you personally. I wanted to get more clarity before I got on and I said anything and I addressed Ken Martin or I addressed Tim Miller. I'm willing to circle back. Ken Martin was like, I'm gonna circle back in 2 hours and hopefully you have a more positive outlook on your campaign. And I'm looking down like, you see these 10 toes? Like I'm still here waiting for you to answer my question as a constituent as to what your plan is. I hear what you're saying, but I'm watching what you're doing, and I don't mess with a discrepancy between the two. In the words of Baldwin, paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, I'm not of the mind that we are going to get out of this situation because I don't believe that the manners, the people, the strategies that got us to our furthest points in progress in history are going to be the same people and manners and strategies that are going to get us out of the depths that we're in currently because this is an entirely different playing field. Again, you don't get mad at the clown, you get mad at yourself for bringing yourself to the circus, which is where we are right now. We are in a very unserious generation, very unserious administration, and you have people that are being like, play it safe. Still,
Right.
you haven't seen enough, and I have, and that's the only reason why I'm running for Congress. It's the only reason why I went in there yesterday and I put them all on notice because regardless of what happens with this campaign, if the people of District 5 next month in May, if they choose somebody else to be the candidate, so be it. I'm fine with that. I will throw all of my weight behind them. That's just how it is, and that's how I'm going to roll. But at the end of the day, they're stuck with me now, and they need to be put on notice that it's not going to fly here in Louisiana anymore because I personally have seen enough. I've seen enough for myself. I've seen enough for my constituents in District 5. I've seen enough for my children. I've seen enough for my students. I've seen enough for people like you that have gone around and tried to put themselves in this room. And then it's people like that who are gatekeeping. And I'm not having it anymore because I'd rather tear it all down, to be completely honest, than to sit here and play these games with these pigeons again. Like, we need to be educating our people. We need to be mobilizing our people. We need to be galvanizing our people. And if you've learned nothing, like, look at the video response from yesterday. The video's going viral on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. I didn't expect that to happen, but it is. But that's the type of energy. Gary Chambers' video is another one. That's the type of energy. The people in the Democratic base, I genuinely believe, they want to know what happened in 2024, but you don't want to tell them. You don't want to release the autopsy report. You don't want to separate yourself from Israel and AIPAC. You don't want to go sit here and go toe to toe with these people because you're still operating as if normalcy exists. And that sense of normalcy, in my opinion, no longer exists anymore.
Well, we're all excited that you're running, and I think people really need to check you out, especially in the 5th District, because there's a primary coming up May 16th. And we didn't really get to go deep into Calvin Duncan because the whole story behind that and what the Republicans are trying to do in our legislature to kick him out of a seat that he was duly elected on. They need to, we'll try to, in the show notes, we'll put some of those links in there.
I mean, I can stay longer if y'all want. I've got a little bit more time if y'all wanted to go, and because it's really important for me to censor Calvin.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, like what's happening and what can people do now?
So ultimately, a man in Ouachita Parish up in northeast Louisiana, Senator Morris. Best guess is at the behest of Jeff Landry and AG Liz Murrill, who have had it out for Calvin Duncan for quite some time, have gone through lengths and extents in order to try to prevent him to become clerk of court. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, my dad was a criminal defense attorney. This is the connection that I have with Calvin Duncan. Plus, I interned at Voice of the Experience. Shout out to Vote. So it's a very personal thing for me. So
In 30
um,
years, he was in prison.
28 and a half
Yeah.
years on a murder that he ultimately didn't commit. He was let out. He agreed to a plea agreement in 2011. He got his undergrad in 2018, and then he went to law school. And in the middle of while he was still a law student at Lewis and Clark, the Louisiana legislature had passed the Code of Criminal Procedure 926.2, which was titled Factual Innocence. And what it did is part of the reason why Calvin was convicted was because he didn't have access to his police records and things like that, right? He didn't have access to these records that he really needed in order to prove his innocence. And he had pleaded out like already in 2011, like I said. So what this statute did was it afforded the judge the latitude in order to reconsider these things that had already passed in deadlines, that I didn't have access to my records, but the deadline has passed. So now I'm locked in, even though I didn't have the access to the records. So it afforded him the opportunity to basically based on that statute for factual innocence. He did that. It went into effect on August 1st. He went in 2 days later and he was declared by Judge Nadine Campbell. He was declared factually innocent based upon that statute. It's important to note that Liz Murrill obviously knows, AG Liz Murrill obviously knows that statute exists and that it was titled factual innocence because she went in order to change it after the fact. After Calvin was exonerated, she went in after the fact and added that the line now reads at the bottom, and there's a video on my page that explains all of this. She went back after the fact and was like, if you pled guilty after August 1st of 2025, you can no longer do it. So she's very well aware that it was Calvin.
Diabolical.
She is very well aware
She's-
that the title was factual innocence and all of that.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, that's 2021. He's declared factually innocent. He's in the National Registry of Exonerations. All of that moved forward. Now we're in 2025. He releases his book in July of 2025. The next day he qualifies for clerk of court. The next month, just a couple of weeks later, the news starts to break about Darren Lombard, who was that current clerk of Orleans Parish Criminal District Court, and that all these records end up in a landfill somehow, some way. Then in that span of time, between August and September, when they had the hot seat debate and Darren attacked him on the word, the first time we ever heard any issues on the word exonerated was, from my understanding, coming from Darren Lombard in September. But in that middle ground, you start to see Darren meeting up with AG Liz Murrill, who is like this with Jeff Landry. And then all of a sudden, it seems like there's no Jeff Landry. After when the news broke about the landfill, the records ending up at the landfill, Jeff Landry's calling for investigations. Liz Murrill is all concerned about, these files. And then the next thing you know, they're taking pictures together and it's on the news that AG Liz Murrill and Darren Lombard are there. Then we're in September. They're in the hot seat debate. And Darren spends his entire opening argument attacking Calvin on the exonerated stuff. Then you're going, she issues a letter. Darren, I'll go to the lawsuit. Darren attacks him on the exonerated. You're not exonerated. You pleaded guilty, et cetera, despite the fact that the statute, again, saying factual innocence, meaning he is factually innocent by the letter of the law. You are the current clerk of court, ignoring a court order that has vacated his sentence, et cetera. And it's all basically over semantics. He goes ahead and Darren Lombard files a lawsuit like 2 weeks later. It's not even 2 weeks, it's within the same week. The issue is on Darren Lombard's lawsuit, which was, again, you just got to kind of read between the lines because I don't want to believe that Darren Lombard colluded in any kind of way with the AG or whatever in order to save his own skin. All that I'm saying is it's a bit coincidental that it seemed I still haven't heard any consequences, ramifications, investigations, the status of how those records ended up at the landfill or what kind of accountability he should face because he is the person in control and custody of these records. How did they end up there? Where is the accountability for that? Haven't heard anything like that. But he files a lawsuit. At the end of your lawsuit, you do a verification page, right? And you sign and say, it's on this date, it's notarized. All of the stuff that is included within this is factually accurate to the best of my ability. That is dated September 29th. The issue is Exhibit 6 in his lawsuit is a letter from AG Liz Merle that is dated September 30th. So you have a verification page for a lawsuit that you filed that includes an exhibit that is dated in the future. So how do you explain how Darren Lombard gets access to this letter from AG Liz Merle when the letter is dated September 30th and your verification is dated September 29th? It just looks crazy, and it's, again, not I can't prove there's any kind of collusion or coordination.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit suspect. The suit gets tossed, but by that point in time, Liz Merle the next day is dropping the letter. She's going and now saying, you're not factually innocent in the letter. You're misrepresenting yourself. Darren Lombard and them are literally on the same kick. It's like they're saying the same thing, doing the same bullet points, and you're attacking Calvin on the exoneration thing. So that is kind of like the background. You're sending out mass texts, still saying that he was convicted of armed robbery and murder and all these things week leading up to the election. He gets more votes than anybody else, forces the runoff. Then he comes back and then he wins with 68% of the vote with over 38,000 votes in New Orleans. On a runoff election is crazy to me that we had that kind of a turnout. So overwhelmingly, the citizens of New Orleans saw through all the BS and then still elected him. So when the law couldn't stop him, when the lawsuits couldn't stop Calvin, AG Liz Merle tried to prevent Calvin from being exonerated while he was going through the paperwork. Then she changed the law afterwards so that men like him wouldn't be able to do it after the fact. Now she's meeting with Darren Lombard, and now that all that's gone out of the way, and now he's been elected because after Katrina, they never changed the rule back to whenever they get sworn in. He's not being sworn in until May. So Jay Morris meets up and files SB 256 in order to consolidate civil district court and criminal district court and put them into one office and effectively just nullifying his entire position. It gets passed through the Senate committee, goes through the entire Senate. Yesterday, we had the hearings for the House Judiciary Committee. That is where I spoke, and I spoke on this subject. I know that they are aware of my video. I have believed that the comment, there was a comment that was made that Jay Morris has gotten death threats and things like that as a result of, the publicity about what's going on with Calvin Duncan. I don't know if that had anything to do with my video, but I'm not the only creator that puts stuff out there. I just find it really interesting because people like me have been I've had pictures of my house taken. I have pictures of my children sent to me. I've had death threats again to rape and murder my children. I have had to lose jobs. I've had to move for perspective. It's so crazy how we're always condemning the ones condemning the violence, while at the other point in time, there's nothing being said on that side whenever it's directed towards us. It's the flippy floppy stuff that goes down. So I've sat in the state legislature long enough, and especially in front of the House Judiciary Committee. I had never spoken. Yesterday was my first day speaking, and I always told myself that I would reserve it for something really special, mainly because between me and Byron Cole in New Orleans, half of the rules that they have in New Orleans City Council right now is because of things that I did and he did during Hard Rock and stuff like that. Speaking longer, speaking out of turn, bringing props into the New Orleans City Council, because you're going to hear me. I'm going to pull up. It's going to be a problem. And I could hear the eyes roll whenever I walk into New Orleans City Council half the time. So I know how impassioned I can be, and I wanted it to be something that I felt very strongly about, very passionately about. And more importantly, I wanted to make sure that I was in a space where it's like, if I'm going to say something, I need to put them on notice. And I need to let them know that it's not just going to be this. I'm going to be a problem for you. And I meant it yesterday because I watched them do what they're going to do. And in the clip, the video was over 3 minutes. But we only clipped like 2 minutes of it. So there was a lot more to what I said yesterday than what it was that just went up there. But I let them know that I am the reckoning. I am the consequences of their actions that are going to come, and I'm going to be a problem for them.
Because they're getting away with
And
some bad stuff they've
yes.
been doing for too long. Like they let people go in there and plead and beg them for help. I've seen it so many times, and they just don't even give a damn. They're
They
just like,
cried.
Oh,
There were people in there crying on yesterday, begging, pleading. I've watched them. I've watched people use logic and reason. I've seen them try to use humor. I've seen them use every avenue, trying to touch their souls and all that, and they seem to be
but they
listening.
cannot
And then
be touched.
you're
no
legislating.
It's
accountability.
like
No,
lowest
without
of the
consequence.
low. Yeah,
They're legislating.
exactly.
They get
I told them
reelected.
exactly. This is an extinction burst. Y'all are doing what you're doing right now because you
Uh,
think that there's not going to be any consequences. And I'm here to tell
Hmm.
you, I am the consequence. The people of Louisiana sent me in here. I've been called upon, and now I'm about to be a problem, which is why y'all saw me
yeah,
stop and be like, part of this message isn't even for you. It's for the people of Louisiana because y'all
yes,
need to listen
I
up.
love that.
Y'all need to lock in, and we need to show them who the hell they work for. It's done with. It's over. Because this ends the moment that we say it ends. That's
Yes,
Frederick Douglass. Power concedes
yes,
nothing without a demand. The limits of tyrants is prescribed only by the endurance of those whom they oppress. They continually get
mm,
away with it because we're not doing anything about it. Well, guess what? Regardless of what happens in my election, I'm about to be a problem. And you messed up when you started messing with people that I genuinely, personally, it's not that they hadn't done things before. I mean, just earlier on this month, they refused to raise the minimum wage.
Yeah, again,
again.
We're the most stressed
they can't
state.
even do that.
That's the thing that we are number one at. We are the most stressed state out here. And I guarantee you it has to deal with financials. And y'all didn't have no time in order to raise the minimum wage, but you had time to go steal a seat from the citizens of New Orleans who
Exactly.
literally overwhelmingly saw through the BS and what you were trying to do and still voted him in, regardless.
Mhm, mhm. Well, you have put them on alert. Your opponents do not want to see you coming, and I just love that for you and all of us.
It's definitely going to get spicy beyond the primaries. If the people of District 5 send me and they choose me, then I, as a teacher, I understand the assignment that's going to be given to me. And I understand the opponents on the other
Hell yeah,
side
yeah, because
who are
those
talking a
guys.
good game, but they have no intention of standing up for these people.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
just feel like I wanna say one more thing about, like, specifically you as a woman. I think I think it needs to come from women to step up to these men. Because if the men aren't gonna do it, then we have to. And it's like I just think you're like a perfect prototype to, lead this charge. So excited you're
I
running.
appreciate that. Like I said, I think I'm the grace of my mother, the intellect of my father, but I am the savagery of my brothers. And they can check
Oh.
the pedigree on that. Like, I could have been an even bigger problem. I probably could have been a cartel boss or queen of the South by the time I turned 21. They're welcome, to be completely honest. Could have been an even bigger problem.
Yeah, like, that's
yeah.
Um,
all you need on your resume is 8 brothers, say less.
Yeah. Yeah. Rustin said, I hope you get to debate Blake Miguez, tear him up. Yeah. Blake Miguez is over there,
I wanna
B
see you
Guns,
debate
one of the
everyone.
biggest idiots. And then there's the other guy, Mike Eccles, he's the one that proposed to rename the Baton Rouge Bridge
mhm.
over Donald Trump. I mean, you're running against some real winners here. And I would love to see
Oh,
you
it's going to get
tear
spicy.
them.
And there's absolutely nothing, and I should say this and put this on camera and get this and put this on the record right now in case any of them come back and they see all of this. I will 8 Mile it. I will get on here and I will drop everything because I don't just play with my demons. I have learned their names by this point in time. And there's absolutely nothing that they can bring up that is going to change literally anything. There's going to be nothing that they can sit here. My name starts with an L, and they're already calling liberal Letlow, and I'm like, the alliteration, I could already see it. We should probably take out a poll and say it's going to be lunatic leftist liberal Lindsay. I can already like see it because I've
Yeah.
been dealing with MAGA for a decade. Like
Yeah.
y'all are so unserious. You are
Yeah.
so unserious about it all. And when it really comes down to it, none of that really matters. all of the things, I will 8 Mile it. I will get up here and I'll be like, here, go ahead and tell these folks I have a dancing career. There's probably videos of me backing it up somewhere, to be completely honest. But I am a representative of my generation. I was taken over in the 99, in the 2000. These ain't the same knees. These aren't the same knees from the 99 and the 2000. But when I say I am the consequence of a generation, that's what I mean. I'm going to be a problem. That's what it is. And
Radical Rubia.
I have had it in my head, though, they're not going to show up. I don't think Blake Miguez and Mike Eccles in my mind, because we've seen them not show up for debates.
No, they ain't gonna.
It's cool. I've got a hat.
They don't want to show up. They don't want to show up to their own funeral.
Hold on, let me grab this.
You got to bring it to them. Bring it to them.
It'll be just like this. I would get up and I would jump in the other seat, and then I would be them. So just everybody.
Yeah.
Made you look Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
For perspective, I will get up and I will debate myself, because their policy pitches are all the same. I will get up and go from one chair to the other if they're not going to stand up and go toe to toe. Like, we can do this all day, beloved, because I'm not here to play. And if the people of District 5 send me, they're not going to find a better advocate, because I say what I mean and I mean what I say, and I do not make promises that I do not intend to keep. Therefore, if I promise you that I'm going to go toe to toe and I will literally give my life, my liberty, my livelihood, that's the one thing that I can say, that I'll stand 10 toes down on it, because what else are we doing if we're not going all in? Because if it is as bad as we say it is, and if it is as bad as we think it is. Exactly. Then it has to be all hands on deck. And there's nothing that you can tell me, not when you're sitting here and I know that these people are not okay with paying taxes to pedophiles and their protectors. That much I know.
Yeah.
They are upset.
Guns and Eccles, they're not even running on anything. It's only protect Trump. There's literally all their commercials is, if they have any, or protect Trump. That's all that they're saying.
And they're not trying to hear that.
Tax cuts for the rich,
losers.
too. Can't forget about tax cuts for corporations and the rich.
For a CEO of a company that I'm never going to, for tax breaks for companies that I'm never going to be the CEO of, for tax breaks for rich people in the Epstein class that I'm never going to be able to attain, because the whole entire goal, it seems, of this administration, which they believe they've been lied to now. And you're not going to reach those people by trying to get into the center. They don't want the center. They are more likely to go from far right to far left than they are to go from right into the center. This is the conversations that I've had with them. Why? Because, again, they don't want a typical candidate. They voted for Trump in this administration because they wanted something different. And if you can show them something different where you can still be honest and be something different without having to sacrifice a moral compass in the process, that is the candidate that I am going to be. I'm not going to make promises I can't keep. I'm not going to sell you pipe dreams and tell you that I can get all this done. And they want the issue to be addressed. They wanted war powers and things like that. And we still have a party that is not even unified on the war powers front and what's going on out here. So it is what it is at this point. And I've laid it all out on the line. And regardless of what happens to this administration, I'm not going to stop until this state is the purple color that I know deep down it is, that I grew up in.
Yeah.
That I know. Because I remember a time when we had Democratic senators. So when I said I was going to be a problem, I was talking to my volunteer coordinator literally this morning, and we're like, so, all right, hindsight, looking forward, actually, rather. What happens? Look, we don't win. What's the next step? Baby, we need to, first of all, I already have a list of everybody that so far has voted against it. We're going to create a report card for everybody and lay it all out, and then we're going to sit here and find candidates to run in every single one of these seats, and we are going to push that out, and these people will be done with.
Yep.
Show these people how they voted. Make a connection between the policies. Exactly. I'm going to show you the person you voted for and then the policies that they voted for. And if the policies that they voted for are not for you, then you need to ask yourself, who are you voting for? Are you voting for yourself or are you voting for the Epstein class? And 99% of the time, you voted at this point in time, they've now seen they voted for an Epstein class. Period. And that's the 1% or the top 10th of 1% rather. And it's not the 99% of us, which is why I know that they're mad and I know that they're more likely to vote for somebody like me than somebody who's trying to play it safe and be in the center. They don't want that anymore. It's gone too far for that.
Well, I could talk all day with you, Rubia.
Thank
you for joining us.
I'm
It was
fully
great.
seated. I cannot wait to follow your campaign and see what you accomplish, not just this year, but beyond that. Sounds like you're ready to organize no matter what. So, uh, so happy and excited to meet you today, and this is just the
Thank
Where do
beginning for you, hopefully.
Yeah, and where do people find you, and where can they donate? Because donate to
Yes.
Rubia. She needs.
Please, first and foremost, if people have it in their heart, I do want to center Calvin because I know at this point, it's going to go to the House. I mean, there's an off chance that the House could reject this bill. And if that's the case, then we're going into the litigation component as soon as Jeff Landry signs off on it and they actually do away with Calvin's seat. So follow Calvin, the number 4 clerk. And in his bio, there is a way that you can donate to him as well. And he will need money and resources for litigation and to make sure that he's straight because he was supposed to be taking a job in literally like 2 weeks that he's looking like he's no longer going to have. So I do want to center that for Calvin. As far as myself, you can go to rubiagarcia.com and there is a volunteer, there's a pop-up, get rid of the pop-up. Yeah, and then there is a volunteer button and then a donate button and $1, $5, $20 if you don't have it because everybody's on the struggle bus. Sign up to volunteer and share that. All of my socials are there. You can follow me, Rubia Garcia on Facebook or Rubia Garcia JD on Facebook is the fan page. On Instagram, it's Nola Rubia Garcia or Rubia Garcia for Congress. And that's the
Follow 'em
only,
all.
yeah, that's there is also on Facebook, elect Rubia Garcia for Congress, but all of those socials will be on the website for you to click through easily.
Awesome.
And we close it out. I'm asking all of the people running, the candidates, because we're from Louisiana and I'm interested in your answer
Okay.
since you're from New Orleans. What is your favorite style of gumbo?
Well, the sad part is because I'm from New Orleans, I can't have anything out of the water. So I can't have seafood in my stuff. So
Yeah.
chicken gumbo is probably that's the best bet I got, to be honest. I can't really, and I risk it all like once a year. I pop a couple Benadryl or some crawfish and fixings, to be honest, because I can't have anything out of the water. It is like
Okay.
it'll make me
Yeah,
the
we've had a
most.
couple of those. We've had a couple of those.
It
Where's that?
sucks, to be honest, I like trying to tell my parents as a baby of 10, they're like, "This is what we're making. You better eat this or starve." And I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna eat my peanut butter and jelly sandwich then because I'm not about to be sick of it." But yeah, chicken gumbo.
Yeah.
I love a good chicken or a sausage gumbo. Those are all good. I just can't have the shrimp and all those things, which really, really sucks. But yeah, that's that.
Well, chicken and sauces is all you need, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, as delicious as it is, to be honest, I'm
Yes.
so grateful to come here. And that's just another representation of the culture that we have here that is just different than everywhere else. And that's kind of the rhythm and blues thing that I was reaching before. You can't come out here. You want all the rhythm of Louisiana, the food, the music, the culture, the people, the architecture, the history. You can't want all the rhythm and none of the blues that comes along with it without putting some actual skin in the game and just sitting here criticizing. If you're not actually going to, and commentating on it, if you're not going to actually do something about it, or help people. Like if there was like Tim Miller, for example, you want to do something, you don't think that, then jump in there and fix it. Help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't just criticize from the outside. Tell me whatever it is. I'm a teacher, but I just graduated from law school because I'm kind of a nerd. I'm still teachable. Help us. And if you're not
Yeah.
doing that, then all it seems like is, like you said earlier, kind of like shade. And that's the whole point. That's it.
Sounds like y'all need to get some money from Tim's new pack. You and
I
Jamie.
tell him to check his DMs.
Right.
And
Tim.
Conrad, the other farmer. That's right.
Yeah. Everybody. Like we need, honestly, I think that's the hardest part is that it's like everybody's like, who is this chick? Where is she from? And like people who are unfamiliar or people who are familiar, they still don't realize that I'm running. I'm like, they're like, you should run for office. Baby, I am.
Mm.
But I need you to go donate $1 or share this page or, give me $5 or tell your people in Louisiana because that's ultimately getting the word out. And then also these apps aren't favorable to liberals. I mean, ask anybody on TikTok right now who's now being censored
Mhm.
ever since TikTok has been taken over by the US. Like, it's an all out assault. And if you have it, then go ahead. And I'm also not the best at that. Everybody's like, you can't be telling people don't send money. And I'm like, but everybody's out here struggling. Like, we're all on the same struggle bus. So it's very difficult for me to ask people for their last dollar. But if they have it to give, I need to stop. Also, what the response was, don't block your blessings, because there are people who do have it, who want to give. And even if it's $1, guess what? I got 1 million followers on Facebook. If every single one of my 1 million followers on Facebook gave me $1, then I can go toe to toe with Blake Miguez and Mike Eccles, who already have over
Exactly.
4 million
Yeah.
in the bank, already locked in. So if y'all can give it, because Lord knows I'm gonna need it, especially going into the long run of the general going to November, because I fully will intend on going to DC and being a problem there and a problem in Louisiana, no matter what happens.
I hope you are a big problem for them up in DC.
Y'all are stuck with me now.
So yeah, everybody
Okay.
get out and vote. Look at especially if you're in the 5th district, check out Rubia. And everybody, no matter where you are in Louisiana, May 16th primary elections, we got amendments on the ballot too. I'm against all the amendments.
Same.
That's a Project 2025 amendments. They tried that last year. We reject them. We're going to reject them again. So get out, vote those down, and vote for Rubia. And we got some other great candidates out there too that we're going to be bringing on in the coming weeks. We got John Day next week running against Clay Higgins. He's the endorsed candidate.
Love John
over here
Day.
in 3. So
Love
we
him.
got some good conversations coming up at everybody. So stay tuned.
Yes. Thanks for
Awesome.
joining us today. Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me. It was a great conversation. Thank y'all for the work that
Coulda
you
kept
do.
going.
Yeah, it is exhausting to do the work as somebody who did not want to go viral on socials. And if you would have told me that this would have been my life a decade plus ago, I would have laughed at you, but absolutely not. It still shocks me. People still find me interesting. So just taking it all, I wanted to say thank y'all for the work that you do. Dustin, I think I've told you this to your face. I'll say the same thing to you, Danielle. It's a thankless job more often than not. Nobody's making y'all do this. Nobody's forcing y'all to do this. The same thing for me. And it's often a thankless job, but it is a very necessary work, as John Lewis would say. So keep getting into the necessary trouble and putting the message out there and putting it out there for folks. I really genuinely appreciate it. Anytime y'all want me to come back on and talk about being the problem,
We'll
I'll
do it
be
again.
Let's go. Yeah, we'll have to
Yeah.
do it again for sure.
And thank you.
absolutely. Absolutely. Y'all
All right.
have a good one.
Y'all too. Everyone
right,
have a
bye,
great
everybody.
weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.